And the truth is, it's really a continuation of above and alpha at the bottom. But it says here, mi omar, it should be ki omar. And it says, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Aleph said that a girl who who receives her get has, if she's under 12, she has a chotzer and she has arba amos. So the Gemara says, don't take it that far. When it says, Rabbi Yochanan says a girl who's under 12 has a chotzer and arba amos, it's not to be taken literally. Rather, it's a very limited chiddush. It means that she doesn't have dal amos, she doesn't have chotzer. All she has is the extent to which she can extend her hands. Okay? So if she's standing here and the get is thrown anywhere within the extent of the radius of her hands, that Chazal recognized to be a valid kinyan of the get. And later on in the separate section, we're going to get into why there's such a concept at all. Why is you have more than your actual grasp? But that's going to be something which comes up later on, and the rabbis instituted that. So by a ketana, they didn't give her chotzer, they didn't give her daled amos, all they gave her is the extent to which she can extend her hands. Okay? Says the Gemara, interesting question which Gemara does not resolve. What about the chotzer of the shliach? Shliach Kabbalah. It really be a shliach having a shliach, because we say a chotzer is like a shliach in of itself. So if you have the chotzer is of the, if you have the shliach, can he himself, you have a shliach Kabbalah, can the shliach Kabbalah himself be zocheh to get with his chotzer? I'm not sure why not, to tell you the truth, because the any vehicle of acquisition which the original person had should be able to be granted by the delegation of authority to his or her agent. But nevertheless, obviously, the Gemara here is under the question, under the impression that there may be a problem in that making the chotzer a further shliach is a shliach making a shliach, and that might not be possible. Just something like that.
So it should be the same.
Right, it should be, but obviously we hold there was
a special zera for a woman to include her chotzer as part of her being.
Well, by an adult, it's not a special zera. By an adult, it is actually part of the. But the reason is that we have principle of ein shliach or shliach. One shliach Kabbalah cannot appoint another shliach Kabbalah. So obviously, as they're saying, perhaps the agency is also limited in that the chotzer doesn't apply. That's what we're trying to say. Okay, which would be, but that's the question. The one doesn't resolve it. Okay, so the one Nises we said in the mission Nises. Once a girl is married, lo avia, she accepts her get, not her father. Ketana, if she's a ketana, she's a minor. Avia lo he, she accepts the get, not her father. Right? Nises. Now, if she gets married when she's a ketana, bein avia, but both she and her father. According to the Amudi Yerushalmi at the bottom, who brings the Ramban, cannot accept her get. Okay, if she's really if she's a ketana and she's married, fully married, so her father lost rights over her, right? Because after this, the father has no rights anymore. She doesn't have rights because she's a ketana, so therefore she can't get divorced. They have to wait till she's an adult in order to divorce her. Okay? Says, well, not quite. If she already has das, which we will define in a moment, even though she's a ketana, she can receive the divorce. Of course, her father cannot. It should be cholol discouraged. What's ketana who can't get married because you say she does have das? Rabbi Yochanan says, anytime we give her a get plus something else, obviously the other thing is precious. And the get is assumedly not, because it's a piece of paper. But nevertheless, sometime later she can produce both, so obviously she knows the get is something worth keeping, just like the other object we gave her. That indicates that she has das, she's mature enough and intelligent to receive the get, because she knows what she's getting and to safeguard it.
They don't say what time is sometime later.
No, they don't say that, no. It doesn't say, that's right. It's a very ambiguous term. Yeah, I don't know why. Home at at least some is right. Yeah, maybe it's I assume it's like a week, maybe 30 days. Somebody who says, give a get to my wife, Makom so-and-so place. Nasal Makom Acher, and the Shliach gave it to elsewhere, possible, because the place became like a condition of the get. But if the husband said, well, she's in so-and-so place, right? In that case, if he gave it to elsewhere kosher, because he was just indicating where he thought his wife would be, but not that he was specifically stipulating that the begay be granted there. A woman who said, except for me, my get in so-and-so place, whereas the Shliach Kabbalah accepted it elsewhere, possible because again she stipulated that the gerushin should take place in so-and-so place. Rabbi Lezer says it's kosher. Rabbi Lezer holds in this case also. Rabbi Lezer holds she's just indicating where she would like the get to be received, but not that it's a impediment to the validity of the get.
She has no say-so where she gets the divorce.
No, but she has to say so on the Shliach. She can impede upon the shliach from being activated unless he gets to so-and-so place. Okay, that's it. It's her shliach. Now, along those lines, precisely what you said, if she said to the shliach, Haveli Gittin Makaploni, she didn't make him a shliach Kabbalah anyway, right? She just said, you're shliach Hava, you bring me the get, I'll get divorced here. Then it doesn't matter where he picks up the get. If he brings it from elsewhere, kosher, the get is kosher. Okay. Masisa lo Rabbi Lezer. Our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer in the Sefer, because Baram Rabbi Lezer, according to Rabbi Lezer, also you should argue in the ratio, and also where the husband specified a place should be Lolam. Take out the word Eina. The Maharam on the bottom takes out Lolam Migureshes Achiomer Lo Atzkar Shenali Yivokaponi. Even if he designates a place, unless he says I'm Betafka Makbi that it should only take place there. So according to Rabbi Lezer, we always say that it's just indicating where he thinks it should take place, but not that that's a definite clause in the Gerushin. So Rabbi Lezer in the ratio should have argued as well. The fact that Rabbi Lezer doesn't argue in the ratio should not be construed to infer that Rabbi Lezer agrees in the ratio. No, he would argue in the ratio as well. And he would say anytime, unless he stipulated that is the only place where the divorce could take place, just mentioning the place in and of itself does not tie down the divorce to that place. Unlike Chachamim, okay? Harei b'makom ploni. Now, what if the husband said, "Look, she's in so and so place," and then the shliach went to divorce her in another place. Harei. It should be, now here it should be totally different. It should be Harei Bezuah Frabana Moida. In this case, even the rabbi's Moida, because he's concede that it's a valid gerushin. Because he's just giving, clearly in this case, just giving Eitz Toiva, right? He's saying that.
He's giving directions.
Giving directions, right. Sheinu Ela Kamara Malakim is just indicating the place where she's likely to be. Now also in this is going on the Sefer of the Mishnah, where she says Haveli Gittin Makom Ploini, right, where she says brings me to so place. So there too, even Rabbanan concede that she's just indicating a likely place where the husband can found, but not to be construed as, since it's Shliach Hava and Shliach Kabbalah, so it's not to be construed as an ikuv, as an impediment that he should therefore bring the get from there. Okay? Haveli Gittin. A woman says to the get shliach, don't be a shliach kabbalah, but be a shliach hava, to bring the get, not to accept the get. Ochels b'truma, she eats truma ad sheyagia get liyoda, until the get reaches hands, because it ain't effective till then. He's skavli Gittin. She said to the shliach, except for me, my get asur l'chol b'trum biyad. She's forbidden to eat truma immediately, because maybe the husband will give it to the shliach immediately. If she said, accept my get for me in so-and-so place, Ochelos B'Truma, she can eat Truma Ad Shagia get Lo Samak until the get gets there. Rabbi Lezer, dressed up tonight.
No, it was a mistake. I never got out of it.
What?
It's not to change it.
Oh. Okay. Rabbi Lezer, Oser Miyad, Rabbi Lezer forbids immediately, because Rabbi Lezer consistent with Lezer in both Halacha Gimel Halacha Dal holds that unless you make an explicit stipulation, we assume that mentioning places by Gittin is not an impediment that the get take place dafka there. So therefore, even if you mention a place, she mentioned place, accept me my get in so-and-so place, so nevertheless Rabbi Lezer holds that that's not binding. And that's what Gemara says immediately, my time Rabbi Lezer, I say, Achatel B'tzoi, found him beyond the door. In other words, the Shliach Kabbalah found the husband waiting on the other side of the door and accepted again immediately. So therefore she's forbidden to eat truma immediately. Okay? Tamatina, we learned over there. It's a very interesting case. If you said to somebody who's not believed on Meisers, you actually sent somebody who's not credible in terms of Meisers to buy you Meisers from somebody who's credible. Or Mimishu Meiser, or from somebody who himself takes up the Meiser. Eino Neman. You don't believe the Shliach that he went to the right place. He's not trusted. Okay? If you said, Meish Plon, now here you don't have this in the Gemara, neither do I, it's in the Korbaneda. Meish Ploni Arez Neman. If you send to a specific individual, you didn't say, go find me somebody trustworthy. You said, go to so-and-so Yankel, right, the storekeeper. So then he's believed to go to that storekeeper. Rabbi Yossi argues, Tanya Rabbi Yossi, Marafilu Amar Lo Mi Ploni. Even he said, go buy from Yankel, the storekeeper. Ain't no Neman, he's not believed to say he went there. Achayoy Marlo, until the Mishalech, the person who sent him, says, Kach, go buy it on credit, and I'll go pay the money later on. Because then, he'll come back and check. So obviously, in that case, we believe that the guy is going to go take from the right guy. So as the Gemara, in my time of Rabbi Yossi, what's the logic of Rabbi Yossi? Similar to Rabbi Lezer in our Mishnah. He found a relative. The two pshatim and karv, some say relative, some say closer by. But in any event, he found somebody else and he took from the other guy. Says the Gemara, I said Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yossi. You think Rabbi Lezer in our Mishnah goes like Rabbi Yossi over there. So he says the get can take place anywhere, it's just Mara Mokum. So that's like Rabbi Yossi over there. Said he really might intend to buy from anybody. It's just Mara, he just feels it's Mara Mokum. Says Mara, again, ask Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Lezer. Says Mara, no, Rabbi Yossi, Ribon, Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Yossi is a bigger Kaddish Rabbi Lezer. How so? Below Motor Rabbi Lezer, does Rabbi Lezer concede, Shim Amr Lo, if the woman said to the Shliach, Out Kableali, Elaba Mokum Ploni, only accept me to get in so-and-so place, She'ochos B'Truma Shegia Get Lo'osa Mokum, that she can eat Truma until the get reaches that locality, right? So, Hacha, here, Tapalam Zaim Now, Fafilu Amr Lo Mi Ploni, here even he said, take it from Yankel. He said, specifically that place, ain't no Neman. The shliach is not believed. Until he says, go buy and I'll pay the credit afterwards. My time, Rabbi Yossi, and again we reiterate what's the logic of Rabbi Yossi. He found somebody related and bought from him. Now again, here according to Rabbi Yossi, to avoid hassle, even if he was told explicitly to only take from somebody, not from anybody else, he'll just cut, he'll undercut a shlichus. So Rabbi Yossi is much more suspicious of the shliach than Rabbi. He's suspicious of the shliach. Rabbi Lezer just says that the person who sent was just bringing mar makom. But Rabbi Yossi is actually suspicious of the shliach of doing illicit things in the course of getting out of a shlichus as soon as possible. Okay, so it's a bigger chiddush l'chumra. Okay, says Gemara halacha hey. Says Mishnah actually. Somebody says kisvu tnu get li kisvu get du lishti. Write again, give it to my wife. Or he says, Gershua, divorce her. Or he says, Kisvu Igeris, write a letter, quote unquote, to Tunula and give it to her. Arei knew they write and they give because all these are languages which authorize the divorce process. Patua, if you said to emissaries, exempt her, Parnasua, sustain her, Asula Kanimus, do to her according to custom, Asula Koroi, do to her what's proper, Lo Amar Klum, it's meaningless because those are not languages necessarily connote gerushin. Some more will say. Initially they used to say, because somebody's going out with chains on his neck to be executed. Varmei said, Kisvu get liishti, if somebody said, and he said, right, get to my wife, even though he didn't say tznu. He just said Kisvu, he didn't say tznu, right? So, in the ratio here it says Kisvu tznu. This guy just said Kisvu, he just said right, he didn't say give. They give right and they give the get. Chazuloma, they expanded that. They came back to say Afam forage, so to somebody's going out to sea, but to be sure going out in a caravan. For Rabbi Shimon Shesuri Afam Masuka, somebody who's in danger of death. All these individuals, even if they just say kisvu, not tnu, we assume that they meant to say tnu as well, and we write again and give it to the wives. Okay? Homer Salchua, somebody says Tarchua. Homer Gershua, it's like he says Gershua. In other words, Tarchua is the language of Gershon, just in Aramaic. Patrua, Parnasua, Asula Kanimus Asula Karoi. All these languages, exemptor, sustainer, duter, what's proper, tutor, what's suitable, lo amar klum, it's all meaningless. Ani omer, I say limit zoinus, that what he meant to do is say, he said, give her mizonos, right? Exempt her from being impoverished and famished. But it doesn't mean anything about, divorce. Okay? Says more, Amray Maramana Sevelosov Dober Bikoilo Shosakon. And not just as somebody's going about to be executed for his crimes, explicitly. Even if they take him away to debtor's prison, he never can tell if he's going to survive it, right? So therefore, even says kisu without tznu, that's valid. Anytime a person is put into chains, he's in danger. Realiza asks, this guy is in chains. Is his matana like a matana which doesn't require a kinyan, or is it like the matana of a healthy person? Because right now he's not ill. He's going to have to be killed, but he's not ill. Shchimir is somebody who's ill, right? So Rav Nachman Shimon Yaakov Ramiyan said, "Maditzich Lebelez." Is that what Rabbi Eliezer asked the question? Pshitli Rabbi Yossi Rabbi China. It's obvious Rabbi Yossi that it works. The Tzniya we learned over there. Tamon Aisha Nerga, a woman who is killed. Nanim Besara. You're allowed to make a human hair sheitel out of her hair. Okay. Now this is not clear. Most of the Mefarshim here learned that it's about her wig. In other words, you can use her wig after she's gone. Must have a nice wig. But according to the Or Sameach, it's actually talking about using the hair of her head. Okay?
Before or after she's killed?
After she's killed, but that's going to be the point. An animal who's killed because, he was a Shoraniska or something like that. So then, Asura Banoah, the carcass is Asur Banoah. So why is that? Why the difference between the animal and the woman? So it says Marbi Yosef, so it says Bo'meres. When she says Tinasin Kvinti Leviti, she said, give my Kvinti is literally a shawl or a tichel, but here it includes the sheitel as well. So therefore, since she said it during her lifetime, so that's why it's a vow transit. That's why it does become also by Noah. The way the Or Sameach, in fact, learns it's even talking about the hair itself, as I said. And what he proves here is that Mana Shchimira takes place during the lifetime of the person involved. And even if it's the Shchimira is giving hair is not essential to the body, so therefore it doesn't automatically become also by Noah. If it's sold prior to the person's death, then it can be shorn off after the person's death, according to the Meshachach, the Or Sameach. So be that as it may, Lamaisa, we see here, what we set out to prove is that a case of what? A Yotze B'Kolar, what did we set out to prove? No, we've said it for Yotze Kolar is, doesn't need a kinyan. Yeah, okay, right. Because here she just said tznu, she didn't make a kinyan. That's right. She said tznu kivinti leviti. She didn't actually make a kinyan, and nevertheless it remains mutter ba'ano. So we see that you don't need a kinyan for. Right, that's right. But it is for a divrei shchimira.
I'm thinking about what kind of Bible you have.
Right. So we know that divrei shchimira is definitely like that, right? But there's specific. So that's, you're right.
Yes, the shiur is that Yotze B'Kolar.
Right, even though he's not mortally wounded or dying. Right, that's correct. Kadan, that was the case of this. Now, this is the case also in the Bavli as well. Only in the Yerushalmi is a little bit more fleshed out. Geniva isapik lemikla. Geniva was going to have to be killed. Omri said, Yavun leilav l'Rabbi Avuna. Give to Avuna Zuz. It says here in Korbanei 400 Zuz. I guess it's from the Bavli, that number. Min chamra the kavar panaya. Give him $400 of the wine which I have in kavar panaya. V'loy Avun lei. After Gvina died, they didn't give his heirs the money, the wine. Chashin laha the Rav. Why is that? Because they were afraid of that which Rav said, meaning they took into account Rav's statement. The Rav says hayorish k'meshubad, an heir is like somebody who's under lien. And just like shein milva beidim nikves minar meshubad. So just like a loan, I'm sorry, not somebody who's under lien, like the chosim meshubadim, like property which has been sold away. So just like you can't collect alone, which is verbal, even if there are witnesses on it, from the Chosim Mishubarim. It can only be collected from the Chosim B'nei Chayrin, not from property which had been sold away, right? So Kach Eidanigri, so to Milva B'Eidim, such as Matna Shchimera in this case, Eidanigri Minirsh is not collected from the heirs. Says, well, I don't stand. It's not a debt. Right? Forget about that. It's not a debt. It's a matana. That's all the concept. Matna shchimera. The shchimera can give a gift. So what's the problem here? Right? So it's a choshin law. So tell you, choshin law. The Rabbi Lezer. We're afraid, we're suspect that which Rabbi Lezer said. Rabbi Lezer, sure, he asked whether Yotze B'Koilo Matnoso Kamatna Shchim Meira, but he never resolved it. In other words, we tried to resolve it, right? But Rabbi Lezer never resolved it. So since Rabbi Lezer never resolved it, Rabbi Yitzchak said, but might have strictly Rabbi Lezer, Pshita Rabbi Yitzchak B'Chanina. Rabbi Yochanan said, yes, Matna Shchimera applies also to Yotze B'Koilo. But Rabbi Lezer adds it as a kasha, never had a resolution. So therefore, even though this was a Matna Shchimera, because Vilna was going out to be executed, nevertheless, I'm sorry, we don't know if it's a Matna Shchimera, and therefore they never executed his last will, so to speak. Okay? So,
why is it, I know he's not sick, but he's about to die. So the Shchimera is about to die?
No, because Matna Shchimera, they did it because, I'll tell you, very good question. Matna Shchimera, they did it because they were afraid that if you don't let his matana be valid, it's going to hasten his death. Because he's going to, this should tell you. But the Yotze B'Koilo, Kolar, it makes no difference because his death is not a...
It's predetermined.
Right. Right. So it's going to be executed.
May or may
affect his status. Exactly.
Psychologically make it
right, exactly. Okay? So it says where I see the Rabbi Zira, Rabbi Yitzchak Atushaya. They brought Rabbi Zira to Rabbi Yitzchak Atushaya V'tonale, and I guess Rabbi Zira, one of them taught the other. I'm not sure who taught what. Gittin Ken Matona. Just like the get, the Yotze, even if he didn't say tznu, his get is valid get, just if he says kisvu, so too he has Matna Shchimera. Armlei Raiba, O Ma Gittin, says more, may Punk Fakir. May by Gittin, him lona some b'chayiv lo nosein. A Yotze B'Kol, if he didn't give the get during his lifetime, it's not a valid get. Av Matana, him lona, meaning before he went out to Kolar, Av Matana, him lona some b'chayiv. Lama Tlashma Matana, maybe Matana also. The matana is not valid unless you give it. In other words, maybe the exact opposite. Maybe the get of Yotze B'Koilo is not valid unless it's given, unless he said tznu, and maybe matana is not valid. So he said, I don't understand what you're doing here. Here we have a rabbi who's trying to give his lomdus, his wisdom, and as a result, he's going to cause Rabbi Avuna to lose 400 zuz. Stop with this pilpul, right? Leis yochil, because you are not right. You can't say this, right? Because it says explicitly, niataman trumanel ish pleni umeis, says give so and so much money to each so and so, and took him $100 to so and so umeis, and he died. Yidnu lachar misa, you give after death. Now, it's very strange. What does that prove? Who says play about Yotze B'Koilo? Maybe it's play about Matna Shchimera. So it's kind of strange. So it says so. What? I'm not sure exactly how to learn it, but perhaps it goes along with the next two words. The next two words, Rabbi Shimon. The Pnei Moshe explains Rabbi Shimon, that's not talking about Matna Shchimera. That's talking about Mesukon. I mean, it's either a Matna Shchimera of a Yotze B'Koilo. It's either a Matna Shchimera of Mesukon. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Omer Afa Mesukon, right? So Mesukon is also a form of Shchimera because it means you just got sick very, very quickly.
Isn't Yotze B'Koilo, what Mark was saying before anyways, any Yotze B'Koilo is Mesukon?
No. Mesukon is a different term. Mesukon is something you got very, very sick very, very quickly. It's both the Shchimera gradually deteriorated. Mesukon is something else. Look at the carbonate of Pnei Moshe in the Mishnah.
They separated before the shoulder of Lazar, some kind of Gedola, they said gets the color from Ephraim B'Mamon is
Yeah, but you're right. You use the language sakana there, but it's not the same sakana. Good point. That's not the same sakana. But you know what? I have the Korban Eid is shot better. Korban Eid says it's a typo. He says it shouldn't be Rabbi Shimon, it should be Katshamun, when they heard, right? So it says Katshamun, so Tniyata when the Tnuman Alishmani Mezin Achas Misa. Katshamun when they heard, so I'm still not sure actually according to Korban Eid what that proves. I don't know exactly what that proves. But in any event, Katshamun when they heard Rabbi Yochanan Polig, when they heard Rabbi Yochanan argues, Yavin late, then Gvina's heirs gave the money to Rabbi Avuna. What they hear about Rabbi Yochanan? The Mara Yavo b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Yavo Senei Rabbi Yochanan, Milva Beidim, even alone with which is verbal, as long as they're witnesses, Nigveis Mina Yorshim, it's collected from the heirs. Uvad Yoshikar, as long as those heirs inherited land, which makes them gives them real achrayas. So too. Gvina's heirs can't collect, or Gvina, Rabbi Avuna actually, can't collect from the Yorshim of Gvina. So it says, Rabbi Yosef said, Odora Tamer behein dava koyin gabe atras demis. That's true about that's true where they were aiding from the time that he made the statement about giving the man the shchimra until the time that he died. Because then we say he obviously didn't deliver during his lifetime, so therefore we deliver from the property after death, right? Abraham, im olive enough, or if the Adam went in and out after he to declare them on the shchimra, so on Amar I say, and one time when the Adam went in the room, he already gave it, so therefore we don't give after death. Now, all this indicates that Gvina's heirs executed the commands, his wishes. However, Milsa Rabbi China, the following story of Rabbi China, Amar indicates the lawyer that the heirs of Gvina did not acquiesce to the demands. How so? Rabbi China Ave Mishtoya Hein Uvda Levi Prisa. Oh, I'm sorry. Rabbi China Ave Mishtoya Hein Uvda. Rabbi China used to tell the story. Levi Prisa, I guess that's the Amora Levi. Have Aramin Asal Asar. He was going from place to place. Prisa means from Persia, I don't know exactly. But so from place to place. Nafkin Krivi the Gniva Mechli, so the relatives of Gvina came out to arrange to have a meal with him. Levi said, Yevin Rabbi Avuna Zuze. First give Rabbi Avuna the money you owe him, and then Vizgan Lachman, then begin eating bread with me. And until that, we're not eating. So that clearly indicates that the heirs of Gvina were recalcitrant and weren't fulfilling the Matan Shchimra. Again, that probably relying on Reb Lezer, because the Matan Shchimra doesn't necessarily apply by Yitzhak the Koila. There's a different shot in He's Garon Lachman, the Pnei Bo Korban and Pnei Moshe, but I think that's what it means. Okay, Tani, we learned Apachola. So to Chol said, Kiswa, even though he didn't say it's new, the get is valid. Rabbi Yaakov Yerushalmi said, Halak Rabbi Shimon Shazuri B'Sukkah, somebody who's in immediate peril of his life, also doesn't have to say it's new. Ma ben sukkah, ma ben chol. Now here is explicitly actually, what's the difference between somebody who's mesukah and somebody who's sick? Chol is gradually deteriorates, like most people do. Mesukah and somebody who's in danger, he became very quick, very sickly. Derech Eretz, in the normal fashion, when a person gets sick gradually, the relatives come in immediately to visit him. But the ones who are more distant come 3 days after the onset of the illness. If, however, the sickness jumped upon him, so obviously he's in great peril very quickly, so then everybody comes immediately. Says more Dilma, it's a story. They went to visit Rabbi Yossi after he'd been ill for 3 days. So he said, by me, you want to fulfill his brisa? Or aren't we good buddies? Why didn't you come during the first 3 days? Well, you don't have to wait 3 days. You're my good buddies. You should have come earlier. Okay? So in any event, the bottom line is it seems that we're very ambiguous tomorrow. We didn't come up with a clear-cut answer as whether a Yotzer B'Koil is the same thing as Matan Shchimra. I don't remember the Bible actually comes to a clear-cut answer. Yerushalmi seems to indicate that it should be, but they didn't actually come to a definite conclusion. Okay, shifting gears. Misha Mushlach Bebar. Somebody's cast into a pit. V'amar said, Kol shemes koili, anybody hears my voice, yichtov get lishi, should write a get for my wife. Harei yichtov eat, no anybody here should write and give. Habari she'amar kisvu get lishti. So a person who's well, who's healthy, who said write a get for my wife, what's a sachipo? He wants to, laugh at her, right? Strange way of enjoying himself. Ma'aser bari. Now, this case I never understood, right? Never ever. First time I'm being exaggerating, but I think the first time I learned Gittin is when I was in 7th grade. So that's a long time ago. I don't remember. I don't know if I learned this then. Anyway, I think we did learn Hanizak in that year, but not a Omer. Anyway, Misha Musha Babar. Bar somebody says Kosher. Oh, sorry, I'm about the young. Ma'aser bari shamar kisvu get lish. The well person said, "Go write a get for my wife." Vala Rosh Gag, and then he went to the top of the rooftop. Benafal, and he fell umes, and he died. Now, Omer Shin Gamliel, Omer Chachayim Shin said, "Ime atzmo nafal harei get." If he fell on his own accord. So harei a get, because we assume that when he said write a get, it's because he knew he was going to commit suicide, and therefore the get is a valid get. If the wind fell, and therefore even though he didn't say tnu, it's still a valid get, like Yitzhak B'Kailor. But if the wind pushed him off, ain't no get, it's not a valid get, because then he didn't know he was about to die, so therefore if he said kiss without tnu, it's not a valid command to write a get. Now, I don't understand, why are we writing a get? For what purpose? He's dead. That's what always has bothered me. Klutz kasha. He's dead. What are we writing a get for? What? But there's no get lachamisa.
The same was the case with Yotzei.
No, there we chop around and we write the get quickly before he's executed. So here, you have to say the same thing, that they wrote the get between the time they went up to the roof and the time they fell off. And then, if we're clearing afterwards, there was a get valid or not. That's what you have to say. Amr China said, Limdon Rabbi Yonah told said, that which we listened to, that which they heard in the pit, that's only, V'hushain Sharo Buvir Shalom, to see a reflection of a human being. Either in the pit or on top of the pit or whatever it was. Why is that? Because others are afraid of shadim. Tamatim learned there might be a shade. Tamatim learned so they're meeting Laura in there. Oh, same idea. But we testify if we saw somebody dead, even by the light of candles or under the light of the moon. Masina Pibaski married somebody off based on a voice which we hear. This is by a voice that says so and so is dead. Umar Abiyah said Ventura Buvio Shalom so if you see a human shape. Rabbi Yaakov said that's in a field. But if in the city, I feel loro buvir even they didn't see a person's reflection. So why? Because there aren't that many shadim in the city, so not to consider it's going to be shade instead. Didn't we learn about somebody who was in a well? We have to see a person's reflection, and there certainly are wells in the city. Maybe it's talking about a city well, right? So it says Marabi said the Mezikin Mitsuim Baboris, these find shadim in the wells, just like we found them in the fields. So therefore, so the voice coming from a well or field, you have to see the countenance of a human being or the shape of a human being.
Wasn't there also a problem with the echo? Was that's in a cave? But you're not hearing his voice directly. You're hearing that.
That's only for Megillah, for Mikra Megillah and stuff like that, but not for again. No, it won't be a problem again. Getting back to the case of the Mishnah, you don't know if he fell on his own or the wind pushed him off. Let's try and bring a proof from here. The Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, if he fell immediately, Harei is a get. He said it's a get because he knew he was going to fall. If he fell sometime later, and he'll get because we say he didn't know he was going to fall. So says Gemara, even if he fell immediately, isn't a safek? Maybe he slipped. How do you know he intended to die? As much as if we don't know, we assume it's a get. It's like a rope, because we assume the odds are that he fell on his own, right? So therefore, we say that we kind of apply a rope, right? So there too, the same thing is if in a case where we're not sure, case of Mishnah we said it depends if he falls later or falls now. So and there we follow an umdanon. We say that if he falls now, it's considered to be what?
If he falls now, it's considered suicide. If he falls later,
No. No. One second.
I'm just mentioning so.
I lost my train of thought here. I think it's the opposite. Let me read it again. Nishmini from here. Rabbi Shigam Yomer Ima Asana Palifel immediately raised a get. Milachas Mana fell Eno get. Depends when he fell. Vayinal Asar V'Losavi he fell right away. How could it be a valid get? Maybe he didn't intend to die and that he didn't intend to seriously order divorce. It was just an accident. Okay, you're right. We assume that in that case he intended to fall, right? So too, if we have a question of Safek Me'atzanaf or Safek Aruat Chosa, we assume they intend to fall as well. Okay? We always assume they intended. If we have...
even if it's late, if it falls later. If it doesn't fall right away, but falls later.
No. If he falls right away, and we're not sure if it's the wind or the it's himself, so we assume that it's himself. Just like it was late right away, supposed later on we assume it's himself. So too we assume it's himself vis-a-vis the wind. No, it's a time and energy continuum here.
No, maybe he's waiting for the get to be written, and that's why he doesn't jump right away. He waits.
He has to tell us that. I mean, obviously there's a standoff situation, right? And that we still continue to assume that he meant to get to be okay.
Grab him and he needs to jump.
Jump, right. Now here's an interesting case, which is brought down because of the end, where it's going to come out to. This is Mishugas. You shecht an animal. Now it says it's in the chulin, but I don't remember the chulin. You shecht an animal for the purpose of sprinkling its blood to avodah zarah. The shechita itself is not done for avodah zarah. You did it in order to do the zrika to avodah zarah, right? So, is there zrika sadam by chulin animal? It's a meaningless concept, right? So does it make the animal avodah zarah? Of course, it's a machlokas, right? It's obviously going to be a machlokas. So shachta is not avodah zarah, like tir chala of zarah to consecrate its chela to avodah zarah, and the animal itself is chulin, not kachim. So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Machshav Posel, everyone says that deed renders the animal no good, and he can't eat it. So it doesn't render the animal ungood, and you can't eat it. No good, and you can't eat it. So Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Shlakish, Rabbi that's for Rabbi Shlakish, but then we learn Rabbi Yossi Mer Kal V'Chomer for him. The Rabbi was to say it's a Kal V'Chomer. My B'Mako Shemachshav Posel is B'Mukdoshim, right? By Kachim. Machshava passes, concept pigul, right? You have in mind during the shechita to do the zrika or something else shalol lishma, to eat it shalol lishma or not shalol lishma, chutz zman or chutz zimkom at the wrong time or the wrong place, right? So we have their concept pigul by karbonos, which are become rendered unfit by 4 avodos, by shechita, kabbalah, holacha, and zrika, right? So we have pigul over there, right? My makoshem machshava b'sos mukdashim, right? We're machshava apostles. So you can think from one avoda to another avoda, right? In a place where my makoshem machshava b'sos mukdashim. So to here. We should have the same thing. Pigul nosa machshav posel. So it's pigul nosa machshav works by kachim. So certainly it should work by chulim as well. So it says more. No. Yaki said the pigul noisar. Normally pigul noisar. Yeah, pigul noisar. It should be not ein, but rather ha machshav poselis. By pigul noisar, thought passes because the special xeris are kosuf by kachim, which the Torah gave. Who says it's such a chiddush by shechting for avodah zarah?
Yeah, I don't understand the whole thing is avodah zarah. So what are you caring about pigul and nosa for? And it's not kachim. It's
no, because it's machashvim avodah la'avodah. That's the question. Whether if we say by kachim mechashim la'avodah la'avodah, so we'll say it's certainly by avodah zara, or we'll say no, it's a unique concept of kachim la'avodah la'avodah by kachim, but not by avodah zara. Because that's a specific word. If you shechted it for avodah zara, that would be definitely also. But if you shechted it, it's stop. In order to be zorek dama for avodah zara, that's a shayla. We have a concept of chashmi avodah la'avodah by chulin.
So did he have in mind that he was going to use, as he's shechting the animal, did he have in mind to use the blood for avodah zara, or he decided after he shechted?
No, he had in mind was the animal.
So does it really carry over?
Right, because by korban the whole process is considered to be one, but the question is by chulin is each does the process united. So it is a legitimate machlokas. Okay, so it says mar shachta v'zarak dama. Or v'hiktir chel b'la'avodah zara. So l'maisa, what happens if you did do shchita and did not for the purpose of avodah zara, but then you sprinkled the blood for avodah zara and maktir chel b'la'avodah zara? So a different case. You shechted stam, then you sprinkled the blood for avodah zara and maktir chel b'la'avodah zara. Okay, either or. So zeh ha'maisa b'kisar, and such a case happened in kisar. Lo amru lo l'isur v'lo heter. They didn't want to be matir, they didn't want to aser. Right? It says lo smeres lo chashu. This indicates the fact that they didn't say neither Isser or Heter. It means that they were not did not assume that we draw a parallel to our Mishnah. Now, what's parallel to our Mishnah? The question is where the guy said, "Give a get to my wife," then went off to the roof and fell off. Right? Shiur Gamliel says that in that case, we assume that he jumped, right? It's not good enough to know that he went up and then died. We didn't need to know that he jumped. So here too, the question is, when you shech the animal with stam, and then you do the libation, the blood work, or the aktor for avodah zara, do we say also chiach sof al tchilasa? Do we not say chiach sof al tchilasa? According to Shiur Gamliel, we always say chiach sof al tchilasa. What occurs in the end indicates what was meant at the beginning. If he went to the roof and died, it means that he already was like a Yitzim Koiler, and all you have to say is Kitzvah not to know. But Rabbanan say it's not supposed to say Osir Chiyach Sof Al Tchilasa. It's only if we know for sure that he jumped off, not the fact that there's an indication that he knew what's going to happen. We need to have not just an umdana. It's like we don't not just Yodayim She'enu Mochichos. We need to have Yodayim Mochichos, right? So here it's not just enough to say, well, maybe there's a connection. There's got to be a real and clear connection, right? That would be the parallel. So it says where intem rechoshu, were they a suspect? Were they choshish for the cover of Shiur Gamliel? And I'm sorry, Rechinim b'shem Rechisa says it's smeres lo choshu. They didn't take Shiur Gamliel's shita completely into account. Because in Tamer Choshuv, you're going to say they took into account. They should have said it's also. Like Shiur Gamliel says here, it's a clear umdana. So today it should have said it's umdana. Says more on the contrary. Maybe as the Shiur says it's Choshuv. Obviously, they did take it into account, right? Because in Tamer lo Choshuv, if they said if they didn't take Shiur Gamliel into account, lo yom lehoros, shouldn't they paskin? But the fact they didn't paskin shows they're a machmir like a Shiur Gamliel. In our Mishnah, Shiur Gamliel is a kula, right? Because in our Mishnah, Shiur Gamliel says if he said kisvu without tnu and then went up to the roof and fell off, so we assume that he meant to say kisvu tnu. That's a kula, right? But here it's a chumrah, right? Because here, if you say ochiyah sofat chosah, means when you zorik dam to avodah zara, he had in mind to do the shchita to avodah zara as well, right? So therefore, here, on the contrary, they must have been choshesh Rav Shiur Gamliel here, because otherwise, why are they not paskin that's mutter? So it must be they're afraid. We do say ochiyah sof al tchilaso. So actually, the more comes pretty evidently to the conclusion that is correct. That Reish Lakish is correct. Reish Lakish said, "Ein mechashim mi'avodah la'avodah b'chulin." Right? It's only because you say ochiyah sof al tchilasoi that we're going to say that it becomes awesome. In other words, if you still at the time shchita to do zrika shelo lishma, oh, actually it's not a proof. I take that back, because before it's about mechashim mi'avodah la'avodah, saying at the time shchita to do the zrika la'avodah zara. That might taka also like Rabbi Yochanan holds. You're talking about a different case where the shchita you didn't have anything in mind, and then the zrika you did for avodah zara. And that we have a machlokus whether it's hochiel sofa tchilos or not, right? And obviously since we answered the animal, in this case, it must be that we are chosher. Gamliel says hochiel sofa tchilos, or whatever he does at the end indicates what happened at the beginning. Okay?
Can't you say it's a nomdana that anyone that's shechting the animal that has in mind that they're gonna use the blood and the chaylev for Odazon? How many people are gonna shecht it normally?
Right, that's what Gamliel would say. Okay, fine. I can.
People are going to shecht.
I can.
And then later on say, this blood looks good. I think I'll
we would say Dvarim Shabbalavim and Dvarim. We don't know. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. That's what it is. I saw. Okay, Amr Shnayim. Person says to two people, Tnu get lishti, give a get to my wife. He says in this case, Tnu. Or Shlosha, so three people says, Kisvu get utnu lishti, write again, give it to my wife. Arei lichtavu yidnu, they write again and they give it. Amr Lishlosha, if he said to three people, Tnu get lishti, give a get to my wife, Yom lacher kisvu. They can tell others to write it. Nesha some based in the very Now, clearly, as the one will say, the Reisha is not like that because the Reisha says they have to do it themselves. The Meir says no, they become based in, and therefore they can tell others to do it for them for themselves, to do it for them. This little Hanani Ish Ono brought when Rabbi Akiva was in prison from Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva obviously said, I have a tradition, if you say to three people, Nu get lishti, give a get to my wife, Shiyom lachen, they can tell other ones to write it, Minei Shasam Basin, because he made it in Basin. Rabbi Yosef, he said, we responded to Shliach, Namil the Shliach, we answered to him, and Torah to give the message back to Rabbi Akiva, Af Anam Kubalim. We have a Kabbalah as well, and the opposite of your Kabbalah. Shafilo Mala Basin, Agol Yerushalmi, he even told the great Sanhedrin, Nu get lishti, write a get from my wife, give a get to my wife. They can't give it to anybody else to do. So they have to learn how to write a get, and write it and give it to her. Now, what if a guy said to 10 people, Nu get lishti? We don't need all 10 involved, because just one writes and two sign. I have said, Kulchem, so all of you have got to write. All of them can, one of them writes it, but Kulun Chosin, they all must sign. Therefore, since he said Kulchem, if one of them dies between the time of his command and the get, I get both, can't make a get, because he said all 10. Says, my Mastis Rabbi Meir mean the Basra Amar L'Shlosha. But after the Reisha of Amar L'Shlosha, because in the Reisha it says the Basin themselves have got to learn it, right? That's clearly going to Rabbi Yossi, who says the Sanhedrin's got to learn what to do. The next case in the Mishnah is the case where Meir argues and says, the next statement, same Mishnah, that Meir argues and say that if he said to three people, they can delegate the authority to somebody else. Rabbi Chizkiah said, time it I Meir, what's large Rabbi Meir? We find all over. Right? But others write and based in signs. What's the difference? They just have to sign. Rahila Barbalos by Kumi Rebbe. Rahila Barbalos asked for Rebbe. He said, Remeir makes sense. Right? The basin doesn't have to write the document. They delegate a cipher to it. Why do we pass on Yossi? The basin themselves have to write a document. Where do we ever hear of such a thing? Rebbe says, Amar Lei, Shalo receive. I didn't see that Allah was like Rabbi Yossi. He says, Maro, right? He says, what do they see to pass on Rabbi Yossi? So he said, I never saw it. I wasn't there when they voted. But now it's too late, because they voted Allah like Rabbi Yossi, so there's nothing I can do about it. And therefore, the basis themselves have to learn how to write it. Rabbi could have a boyama. Now, Rabbi, we know this from all over Shas. Rabbi was very careful of the cover of Rabbi Yossi, even though Rabbi Yossi was his Rabbi. Rabbi had grown to be greater than his Rabbi. And Rabbi Yossi was sitting before him while Rabbi Yossi was alive. He sat before Rabbi as a Talmud. But nevertheless, Rabbi Yossi's son, Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, is very sensitive about his father's covet all over Shas. So Rabbi was always very careful about the covet of Rabbi Yossi, even after Rabbi Yossi was nifter. Okay? So here too, Rabbi could have a boy Maksha, Rabbi Mekshayat, Rabbi Yossi. We want to ask a question, Rabbi Yossi. Amr said, Onan Alivaya, we poor ones, Makshaya, Rabbi Yossi. We're going to ask a question, Rabbi Yossi. How can we do such a thing? Shekashem lebein kodshei kodshim lebein chulei chulin. The distinction between kodshei kodashim and the chulin of chulin. Kach ben doreinu ledorosh Rabbi Yossi. That's the same difference between our generation and Rabbi Yossi's generation. Now it doesn't say. I assume he would ask on him afterwards anyway. But they always give an introduction ahead of time, right? Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi was Rabbi Yossi's son, said it's even greater. Kishem sheben or different marshal. Kishem sheben zav la'afar. The distinction between a gold and dirt. Kach bein derein dor shabbos. So the generation difference between our generation, a generation of my father, a generation ago. You see the concept of the Ridas Hadoros. He said to them people, bring this get to my wife. One that carries for all of them. However, he said, you all have to carry it. And I don't think they literally all have to hold on to it, right? But they all have to accompany him, right? And then when they get to the location, one gives it on behalf of all of them. Now in that case, since he made all 10 shliach l'alocha corporately, so then he makes a chayim, if one of them dies, I already get both of the girls non and void. Rabbi Eliezer in the Ruma said, Hamoyed, you said you and you and you and you and you. That's kilo koimer kulchem ziv said kulchem, and then they all have to participate in the giving of the get, whatever phase he introduced them as well. We'll stop here for this evening.